Hey everyone, Corey with Mile Split. I am here with Kyle Murphy, the head track and field coach of North Rockland. He's been there for 7 years. This is actually your last year, Kyle. A bit bittersweet because we didn't have a season. um,
Yeah.
what's it been like for you in this last year that you were scheduled to be coach and not really having anything to coach?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on, Corey. We've talked a few times. This is going to be fun. It's interesting. I mean, like we were chatting earlier, it's bittersweet for me because there's no track to miss. If there was track to miss, I feel like it would be harder. But this season was definitely bittersweet. That's a great way to describe it because we had goals to get to at the end of the year, and then with nationals being canceled, kind of like just pulled them right out from under us. We had a great state meet, and we were really looking forward to see what we would do. And forces outside of our control. So I've tried to have the idea of like not really getting too upset about not having the season because it's really with way bigger issues going on than not having track.
Yeah. New York's actually in a, well, as far as I know right now, is in a unique position because you haven't technically canceled the entire season. The spring track and field championship has been
Yeah,
canceled, but it
yeah.
seems as though there's a little bit that they still want to hold, possibly up to sectionals. Do you know what do you know right now as far as the season is concerned?
I don't know anything concrete, but like you said, I have heard the same things that they're trying to maybe find a way to have like local county championships and maybe even do some section championship stuff. And I think it's good to not pull all that down right away. If there's any way that these kids can get back out there and have a little semblance of normalcy, I think that would be really good. And then spinning that forward to your elite level kids, it would be beneficial for them to have a chance to compete again, as opposed to going from early March to not competing again until November, December. That'd be hard.
Yeah.
I know that me and Orlando Rivera, the boys coach at North Rockland, we were trying to put together something when things open up this summer, or maybe we could open up the track and have a couple of events or meets where these kids could get out and compete a little bit, because that's the thing that's going to get missed the most is you can figure out ways to train, but missing competition is tough. So I'm really hoping the state does find a way to come through and get these kids back out there some way.
Have you gotten a sense from your athletes how they feel about the status? I mean, whether it's up in the air, it's in limbo or not. I mean, how do they feel about it right now?
Most of them, understandably they're upset. If we have, as a program, we've always had the mindset of treating winter like a build up for spring. So a lot of ways, the way that winter works for our program is we just train hard. It's not very fun and it's freezing. And then you get to springtime and you're like, all right, let's go and run fast. And not having that, it's a little bit of mental gymnastics to get your way around that without getting too upset about something that, again, is nothing you can do about. It's not like you got hurt. An injury is a different kind of thing, and that's its own beast. But this is across the board for everybody. So there's been a sense of like community about track and field. I know that any kids that can help each other at all, I've seen it from just kids on my team and my friends who coach. They're starting to come around on the idea of like we're not going to have this season, so it's not really as upsetting. But I know, I mean, I had a few girls calling me crying the first few days when they canceled the season on us. It was tough, especially hearing that we couldn't go to nationals too. That was a tough one.
Yeah. What I mean, what? How would you describe what New York is like right now? North Rockland isn't New York City, but it's in the state, and a lot of
Well,
people from the
yeah.
outside looking in, they see New York and they say, "Hey, that's the hotbed for where
So,
maybe." Yeah.
like where we are in North Rockland High School, we're in Section One, and that's in the same section as New Rochelle, which is essentially like the wherever the epicenter of this in the Hudson Valley. I mean, they had the National Guard there before April 1st. They locked down the city pretty much, and it's been surreal. The numbers that are coming out of the hospitals, and like I have friends that are healthcare workers, and it's bananas. It's calmed down in the last few weeks, but I mean, trying to go food shopping 2 and 3 weeks ago was standing on line outside a ShopRite for an hour before you got inside, and it's good. Like it made me feel good, about where I live, that precautions were being taken. But it was definitely a lot to take in. I mean, you see I look outside the window now. I see people walking by on the streets, all making sure they're not near anybody. They all have masks on. I myself and a couple other my friends, we've all been laid off from our jobs, so it's been kind of hard. Like, figuring out ways to stay busy and be productive, and it's coming around though. The last week, it's been a lot better, and as it gets warmer, it's easier too.
Yeah. New York probably went to online schooling right pretty early on, so
Yeah. They had most of them had meetings about it before they even like before our state meet. They had a meeting about like my district did about how they would to handle the learning going forward. And I'd say it was like maybe the week after St. Patrick's Day, so last week of March. If not everybody, most everybody that I know was online. I mean, I have two nieces; they're 9 and 7, and they're telling me about their Skype lessons, and they're like, "Uncle Kyle, I'm done with this."
It becomes kind of difficult though because from an online setting and then forwarding that into maybe the activity side of it or the athletic side of it. What has the school district allowed coaches to do with their athletes? Can you communicate properly? Are you given the opportunity to communicate with them or give them or write them workouts?
Yeah, most of my friends around here in our district and the surrounding districts, they've all been very gung ho about working with the athletes, and that's from like administration level down too. Like I know at North Rockland, we were posting every day a different senior athlete who wasn't going to have their senior spring season. We were posting all this information about them, doing like little profiles, and then we videotaped announcements to the kids. So they were sending a video of a different coach every day, and then each sport at our school mostly has their own like website that they run off of. And I know that like coaches are putting workouts on websites. I know that we've used WhatsApp or Remind for a couple of years, and sending out things in that. I know there's girls on the team that are sending each other links of like, hey, I saw this and I tried this. You should try that out. And we've been very blessed. We have a few extremely self-motivated girls on our team that once this was going to be a thing, we weren't worried about them. It was making sure that the whole team stayed together and figured out a way to get it done. So knowing that they're all doing the same thing, I think that really helps them instead of just going off on their own thing. Like, oh, I did the workout today. How did you do doing it? Even if they couldn't do it together, they can talk about it, and I think that helps a lot.
What's been maybe the most effective way to communicate? Are you communicating via Slack or email or text, video
Yeah,
conference? I
like
mean, what are some of the things
Remind is a lot like Slack. That's a really easy way to do it. I I tend to send emails to kids too because you can put like 4 or 5 of them on there, and then it's easily tracked. They all have school emails and stuff like that, which is districts have made it a lot easier. Because when I was in high school and everything was starting to switch over, it was this like gray area of how do I talk to my kid? I know he's staring at his phone all day, but I have zero way to talk to him. So it's been there's ways that have come around to make it easier, and it's usually just through like the texting apps that they have. Like Remind is a great one that we've used for years. The school district loves us to use that because everything gets tracked through it, and we can communicate with the group or one kid, and it's really been helpful.
have you tried as a coach? Have you tried anything new that you haven't used before as a result of all of this?
Um, yeah, I've tried to tell kids to work on things they hate more. I'm usually the coach who wants kids to do things that are going to make them feel good. A happy runner is a fast runner. I've always said that. But now it's like, well, you don't want to work on your flexibility. Well, now you got nothing to do. So maybe let's find some things we haven't tried before, and that would be a way to kind of turn that frown upside down a little bit. Like it's the same way treat it like an injury, right? Like you hurt your foot, can't run, and you have all these back issues for years, and now you fix your back, and kind of just like treating it as like a chance to triage your track and field situation, and then address it because you have not like I guess most of these kids have like nothing else to do. They're stuck in their house, they can't go anywhere, and it's better to do something than just to do nothing.
Yeah, as you mentioned, you have a highly motivated group of girls. Three-time Gatorade XC award winner Caitlin Tui, obviously. Nadia Sanders, Haley Morales as well. I mean, on the guy side, Emmanuel Joseph is a really talented hurdler. How have these athletes been, acclimating to the circumstances or challenging maybe what they're seeing in front of them?
I know that for Nadia and Caitlin especially, a little bit of a rest is probably a good thing, and for Haley too, to that matter. I mean, those three girls work really hard. Motivating them has never been an issue. So it's kind of just this is I view it, and so does Brian Diglio, the guy that I've coached with for a while, as kind of like a little bit of like diet NCAA track. Like when you get to the school in the fall, like no one's gonna make you go to practice. Coach Diglio, no one's gonna text you if you're late. So it's kind of like a little bit of a grace period almost. But that break from competition would be my biggest fear for these kids going forward, especially with the really motivated ones, the ones who are like they wake up and they want to compete. When you don't have that chance to compete, it's hard. It's a difficult thing. I was an athlete who got hurt, so I stepped right into coaching because I just needed to compete.
And I think the mindset too, when you are so talented, especially in Caitlin's case, who many see her stepping right into NC State and performing right
Yeah.
away. When you don't have competition your final year, I mean, there may be the fear of like, okay, wow, I got to like imagine things, or I have to somehow go right into college and excel when I haven't had this. How, I mean, is it so for her? How do you think she's dealing with it in terms of getting to work in? A lot of kids have been doing time trials, obviously. Is that just the way to sort of circumnavigate it?
Yes, I mean she's in a unique situation. She's been running by herself for a while. That's kind of the era she put herself in. So I think that out of any kid, she would probably adjust to this pretty well. Like I said, you know this. She's extremely self motivated. She works really hard. She works all the time, and I don't see why any of that would step off. Like I said about the three of them too, the break probably isn't the worst thing in the world. They compete really hard, they train really hard, and it's always tough to get them to take time in between seasons. Brian and I always haggle with them for the last few years. Nadia, not so much. It's always been easier for her to take time off. But Caitlin and Haley are always like 2 days, 3 days. We'll get right back on it. I can swim though, right? And it's always so. I think the break is going forward. Like you look at long term, it's probably a good thing as both as athletes and as people. It's good to have your routine change and to be forced to adapt and overcome.
One big question as a follow up to this for sophomore or junior athletes, especially in Emmanuel's case, is recruiting.
Yeah.
There's a scholarship issue, I guess, in the NCAA right now that they have to kind of deal with at the school and NCAA level. But for juniors in high school who are now trying to get scholarships and get recruited, how is that impacting them? Because there's a lot of things circulating.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really had a chance to talk to Emmanuel about it all that much. His coach Orlando Rivera is in the same boat as me because he's a junior coming off indoor season, and that's right around when all of this starts. And with how his season went, New Balance Nationals would have been a bigger weekend for that recruiting thing for him. It would have been the first chance for a lot of coaches to be in the same building and kind of see what he could do in person. He ran very fast, so hopefully that's the great thing about track. The times are usually, they don't go away. He's not going to unrun 7:20. So it's just, hopefully he can get a little bit more proactive, which is what I always tell kids to do about recruiting is be proactive. Don't just sit there and wait for somebody to tell you they want you. Like tell coaches you want to go to their school. And then if as long as your kids start doing that, which will probably happen more because again, they have more time, then I don't think it'll be, as big of an issue. But the biggest issue obviously is you're losing a spring season. And that's, a pretty big indicator for, the talent that someone has. And it's tough to, when you're looking at, especially like top tier NCAA programs, it's tough to not have to worry about that. Like the quality of the athlete is paramount. So it's tough to, I guess it would be harder for an NCAA coach too to like judge, what kind of kid they're getting and where they're at. So that would be tough.
For you, looking at this as a coach, this is such an outlier year. We don't know how long it's going to extend when we're going to get back maybe the season. For you at that point, you're not coaching anymore. But have you ever experienced anything like this before the way, we're sitting right now, within sports, within, society? Like, would you compare it to anything? Like, what would you compare this year to so far?
I don't know. I mean, if you just look at, look at it on a track of the sport basis, a break in a sport like this, I don't know. I mean, unless you look at like, the Soviet Union, like boycotting Olympic Games and
Yeah.
taking those opportunities away from their athletes, it's a tough one. It's truly an unprecedented situation. And I hate it when, things like this affect kids because they're innocent. They didn't do anything. They only get one shot to go through all of this. So yeah, I can't really compare it to anything else. There's nothing that really comes to mind.
It's incredible what we're facing with on a daily basis. How are you holding up as just sort of like human? Like, how are you doing in New York? How are you like living?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
I'm doing good. Staying busy, cooking a lot. Cooking's like a hobby, so now you're just stuck inside. So cook as much as you can.
Okay.
Missed my golf swing. I can't wait to get that thing back.
You mentioned to me earlier that your dad, Bob, helped
Yeah,
found the North Rockland track and field team in the early '70s.
it
That's
did.
incredible. You have a little bit of a story on how you came back to North Rockland. Would you care sharing
Yeah,
sort of your personal story
yeah,
of how you got
absolutely.
to North Rockland?
Like I said, my father, Bob, he was the coach at North Rockland from the year that they started the track team until I went to high school. And he sent me to private school down in Jersey, Don Bosco Prep. And when I got down there for orientation, he had just retired from teaching at North Rockland. And they finagled him into teaching there. And 4 months later, he was my track coach for 4 years. And then I was an athlete there, went to college, got hurt, came back, wanted to be around track, so he got me coaching with him at Bosco. I left coaching at Bosco to do something else. He went back to North Rockland, and he dragged me back there to North Rockland, and I didn't really think I was going to be coaching anymore. And it was the best thing that really probably ever happened to me. My dad ended up getting sick and passing away that same year, so it's been very, very special to me to be part of this team. I mean, I grew up on that track. With my dad was the throws coach predominantly, and it was always they would take the pole vault standards and hike them up as high as they could, and see who could throw me over the highest bar on the pole vault net. So yeah, I've been going and practice at North Rockland since I was in diapers. So it's kind of cool that I got to have the same job as him and follow in his footsteps and break some of his records, which was really fun for me. So
That was obviously a very young memory that you're fond of. What are some good memories over the last 7 years coaching this team?
oh, there's so many. Um, when you look at like performance wise, uh, the first time we won the DMR at Indoor Nationals, that was incredible. It went from oh my God, Kate Murphy's coming to like we might break a national record. That was a very surreal, very hard to forget moment. Then I also come back to things like I'll never forget. I had one girl dying to make a relay team during championship season one year. Tried her butt off. I put her on I put her on a 4x4 at our league meet, and she fell 5 meters before the finish line, and she just barrel rolled and just rolled over the finish line. And from that moment on, I was like, Alex, you can't do anything wrong. Like whatever you want to do for the next year and a half of track and field, you can do it. So, it's fun. I mean, obviously some of the things Caitlin's done have been absolutely incredible, but this last state meet was probably one of my favorite meets ever. In the space of about 45 minutes, Nadia won two state championships. That was incredible. I've been around track for a long time. I haven't seen many things like that before. To be competing in two events at the same time and win them both is kind of crazy. I'm still in awe of that day for her.
That's amazing. You also said you had, it's unfortunate that we don't really have anything to base the season on, although you might get some sense of it back. But what are the goals? What were the goals for this year? Either season or even nationals, like you spoke of.
I mean, speaking of indoor nationals, we wanted to get back and see what we could do and try to win DMR number five, maybe.
That would have been incredible.
It
That
would
would have
have been
been nuts.
incredible. Yeah. It would have been and it would have been a great race to watch either way, regardless if it was going to win. That was going to be a fast race.
Yeah.
Um, Things have really picked up in that over our few years of being involved in it. It's been a lot of fun. And then, Nadia had a chance to run a flat 60 hurdles after running really fast, which would have been, for her going into next year, it would have given her coaches a really nice thing to see. But spinning forward in the spring, I mean, our goal as a program is always to win everything that they give a team championship to. We would like to win that. Team is always the most important thing for us, and that starts, with Brian Diglio. That was the first thing he said to me when I came on board. He's like, it's always about the team, and it always has been. I mean, even from Caitlin and Nadia, Haley, all the way down there, every single kid on our team has been team first. So to not be involved with that, aspect of trying to win section title, it's fun when you all do it as a group. And then spinning it individually, I think it would have been getting, our three seniors on their D1 commitments healthy and happy to college. I think that would have been our big goal. I'm a big believer in it's not just what you have now each season. You always have to look at track season and what's going to be after it. And senior year, spring, if you've done your job and you've helped your team for the last 4 years, what do you want to do? Let's do it. I have no skin in the game. My name's not going to be in the paper. My name's not going to be, it's not about me at that point. I know Nadia would have probably liked to gone back to outdoor states and defended both of those, titles again. And I know Haley would have loved to have jumped over some water, and I know Caitlin would like to have done something. So it's sad, but at the same time, like I said, you kind of have to spin it into what it is now instead of sitting there like, what do we not have? Like, what do you now have a chance to do?
Is there any chance that you, as a team, do anything like like, right now on ESPN, there's The Last Dance. I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
watching this. I'm obsessed with it. But is there anything like internally as a team you would do one last time before everybody heads off? Is there anything you've thought of or anything that you would think of that you could do as a team?
Um, I mean, most of our team stuff is like silly stuff. Silly stuff. We give speeches with seniors to talk about the team and what they've meant to them. We
Yeah.
do like do this thing in the indoor season every year. This would probably be what we would do. If we could do an outdoor candy cane relays, I would love that. We split the girls into teams. They make their own handoff zones all the way around the track, and they got to get their whatever. So somebody could run 10 meters if they want to, and they got to get the same candy cane around the track. It's like usually like 4 rounds, and you only get one candy cane. So if it breaks, then you won. You're out now because you don't have a relay stick. So that's a fun day when you get the whole team together, which is very hard, especially in New York State in the winter when your throwers are inside, your distance girls are on the roads. I'm in a hallway somewhere hurdling. So it's always tough to get the whole team together. So when we could do that, that was always when we would have a lot of fun because you get kids interacting who barely know each other, and it's a lot of fun.
Kyle, this
We
has
have a
been.
huge team. We have 100 kids, so it's usually like insanity when we do things with the whole team. It's
I
crazy.
can only imagine. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's been a great talking to you. Is there anything else you want to add?
I just want you guys have always done a great job with getting these kids out there and exposing them the way that they deserve to be like showed. Like they work really hard, and it's not anything to be scoffed at. And the fact that you guys do a really good job of making sure that their voices get heard and that you guys kind of from their perspective show things, I think is great because there's too many people that are talk about track and field and have no idea what track and field is. It's just like, oh, somebody else got suspended for cheating, and that's all they know. So it's really refreshing to me to see positive, track and field things come out. And you guys have always done really good stuff from my side of viewing things on that. So yeah, I was very happy to be on today, Corey. It was just a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure covering teams like yours and athletes like yours. So I really do thank you as well, Kyle. I'm sure I'll talk to you
Oh,
in the
thank you.
future. If it's not in a track team, I'll stay in touch. All right.
Thank you very much. Good luck, man. Be safe.
All right. You too. Take care.